two Siskel and Eberts?
Stormy Daniels.
Okay, we'll do that too.
Stormy Daniels is Marty McFly in Black in My Future.
Well, I mean, honestly, in Back to the Future Part 2, we're kind of experiencing right now. We're experiencing alternate 2017, 18, where Biff is president and.
Biff? Well, I don't know. The thing is, I think we were always destined for Donald Trump to be president.
We did this to ourselves. We did this.
No, Hillary did it to us. Actually, she was such a horrible, terrible candidate that
Bernie Sanders would have been better.
Bernie Sanders would have been better. Bernie Sanders, my God, he would have been a walk in the park. Him and his, Sanders had way more like of a groundswell of enthusiasm from his supporters.
Yeah, but
Hillary didn't draw the kind of crowds that Sanders drew. Sanders drew
mister.
Trump-style crowds.
Let me tell you something, mister. The Russians were trying to help Bernie Sanders, too, because they wanted...
Yeah, and the Russians were trying to help Hillary, too. Whatever it was, they were... If there was any involvement with Russia, which I think is complete horseshit, by the way.
Well, you're wrong.
It was to shake everything up. It was not to put Trump in as
That's
president.
What I'm trying to say. They were also behind that you remember hearing
I blame
about,
Facebook.
You remember
you
remember hearing about that whole sort of Cal exit thing? Like California was going to secede? Yeah, that was them too. They were fucking...
Look, if Hillary wants to be president of California, she's more than welcome to it. The fucking place is falling apart.
I hate to break
they
it
don't
to you,
like
but she's
Trump,
not
and I don't
president.
like them.
Trump is president, so we need to focus on that. We can go after Hillary Clinton.
Actually, what we need to actually focus on is the alarming a number of sex traffickers in this country, working outside of this country, the record amount of honor killings and murder going on outside our country and within our country by certain people. We need to concentrate on why we're at war in Syria fighting ISIS. We need to concentrate on the fact that Bing has been sending news to my feed telling me that the Russians are about to start a nuclear war with us. That's kind of what we need to focus on.
But what about the fact that our
president
is obstructing justice and our entire judicial system?
What is he obstructing? They're getting everything they want. They're not getting what they want, though. They can go into his underwear drawer and find stuff, and they won't be able to find stuff on him.
Investigation. They're not going to just come out and say, we found this, we found this.
It's not going to happen. No, sorry. No. Not. And Stormy Daniels, can we talk about Stormy Daniels?
Yeah.
All right. This whole thing is a public relations maneuver because we have not for once heard her real name spoken in public. This is all about selling her shit.
Yes, we have. Do you not watch MSNBC? Because they say Stormy Daniels, with her original name of, I can't remember what it was, but they say her original name all the time.
It's like Stephanie something or other, and they keep saying that, they keep saying Stormy Daniels.
Well, that's what they're know.
She is a product, okay? She number one, I don't believe it, okay? And this is something I wanted to get into because I have notes. I have notes about this.
Distrust of all systems that are actually holding our country together.
I have distrust of the media. I think they're a bunch of liars.
You seem
they
to
lie
have
about
distrust
everything.
Of the FBI, the police.
What did I write about Stormy Daniels?
Everything that's basically keeping us safe.
Nothing. This is not designed to keep us safe. I don't give a rat's ass about Trump having sex with anybody.
Well, neither do
my
I.
Point.
But
big point.
His lawyer.
Yeah, apparently his lawyer took out a bank loan to pay her.
Yeah.
This sounds like horse shit to me. This sounds like no lawyer would ever do that unless you're like the worst lawyer in the world.
He's Trump's lawyer.
Cover your tracks.
The worst lawyer in the world.
Yeah, but you keep saying Trump as though Trump is involved in it. Trump is not involved in any of this. He not. No, he didn't know anything.
But
I doubt.
Thing that says it's him.
You're only a liar if you're lying, and you can only spot a liar if you know they're lying.
You know what? We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. You're Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You're very. I don't know how wealthy he is, but he acts like he's wealthy. You know, he acts like a lot of new money people. He acts like he's wealthy, and he got married to this Melania Trump, got her pregnant in 2006 or something, and then for some reason he says, I want another woman.
Yes.
So what other woman could I possibly... You're Donald Trump. In 2006, you could probably have any woman you want.
No,
any woman...
You're gross.
Oh, come on. Any woman is going to... You've told me worse stories about women, David. You have totally told me. You told me about a woman who dumped you because you couldn't get her weed. I mean, like,
no. You're misconstruing things.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I don't understand it. But my point being that if you're Donald Trump, you can have any woman you want. Stormy Daniels is a porn star. Okay, if I were like Donald Trump, had the kind of, or whatever it was, well, I would actually take my time. I like to get to know people and I like to be with people. I'm not about
Trump.
I'm not about having sex with people. I'm not like Bill Clinton, I should say. Bill Clinton was really kind of about that. And we actually have proof of that. We have no proof of this.
We will.
But what you're going to do is, okay, if you're that hard up, you usually find a hooker, or you find a sex worker, or you find somebody who's HIV negative that's not going to get past you a disease. You're not going to be like, I'm going to have sex. You know, porn stars, I've known strippers in my day, and I've known a couple of porn stars. They are not sex workers. They're not call girls and call men and Johns and people like that, prostitutes. They're not prostitutes.
I know that.
They go.
She wasn't.
They work, and that's what they do. That's why it's unbelievable. The whole story is unbelievable, but the media is gambling on the public being stupid and saying, "Oh yeah, Donald Trump, he would definitely," because now we're in a system of confirmation bias where anything Trump is accused of, he already did.
Well, how about everything that Trump does? We can take the opposite end of that. To certain people, everything Trump does is right, and it's all actually like
no, it's not right either.
Him.
What Trump is just Trump. It doesn't matter that he's president. It doesn't matter that he was on a show called The Apprentice. That's not what actually matters. Is policy. Policy going forward right now is actually keeping a lot in tune, with the exception of Obamacare, but it's keeping a lot in tune with everything that started when Ronald Reagan was president. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. It's all in the steady line. He has not really shut anything down. And I was also thinking about the wall, too. The wall is not going to happen unless the Democrats let it happen.
Let me ask you this. Let's say things go the way I think they will go, and Mueller is able to either like finish his investigation, or he gets fired and somebody else finishes it, and then they lay it to Congress with all these obstruction of justice things that I think happened. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going to be in the report, but let's say for the sake of argument, it's all there. Congress actually gets their shit together and impeaches him. Okay. What they're saying that he's going to do is he's going to say, I don't recognize this court. And he's literally going to lock himself in the White House. and he's not going to recognize it. And it's like, we don't have a constitutional setup for a president that doesn't believe in our Constitution. We can't really send the army in there because he's the commander in chief. Okay. And so it's like, it's going to be this weird thing where he won't recognize anything. And I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you don't recognize the Constitution, then you don't recognize the Second Amendment. And I think Donald Trump is a Second Amendment proponent.
Oh, he's an idiot. But I think that
he's not going to get rid of the guns.
I think now, if all this happens, what will your opinion of Trump be then? Will you say, hey?
Well, that's not going to happen. I'm not a Trump supporter, but that's not going to. Everything you just said is not going to happen. What's actually going to happen is this.
Yeah.
There will be some charges against a lot of low-level people who are going to wind up becoming the fall guys for whatever happened. And also, this is going to include Hillary's camp. Hillary's camp is just as guilty of this collusion thing, whatever it was.
Went after them.
They're still going after them right now. Right now,
well,
the Clinton Foundation.
They found nothing the first time. They'll find nothing again.
There's a company that my wife's job was associated with called Salesforce.
Yeah.
And they put way too much money into Hillary's campaign. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And right now they're being subpoenaed and they're being part of a Senate committee. Mm-hmm. And also then there's the Facebook question, the fact that Hillary's campaign was so confident they were going to win this election, they didn't go into Facebook. And Facebook instead took a lot of money from people supporting Donald Trump. Not really a lot, because Donald Trump didn't spend any money. But anyway, those are the bigger issues in all this whole thing. Data, it's all about the data mining. That seems to be what the major issue is, data mining. That's another thing that should be news and isn't, is that Facebook is stealing information from us. I don't really care because I have nothing to hide, and I'm sure a lot of us don't have anything to hide. But apparently the media is trying to make people paranoid. They're trying to make people think that Facebook is stealing their information. That's fine, whatever. I guess it's a lot of people, maybe some people we know personally, have a lot to hide. But this is what's going to happen. Only a couple of low-level people are going to be charged with anything. Mm-hmm. There will be no impeachment because that requires 3/4 of a senatorial vote, and in collusion, I should say, in connection with the House of Representatives. You need a major majority to even bring impeachment proceedings.
Are going to start flipping. They're already getting creaky.
If you want, President Pence, I mean,
I don't.
Great, go ahead and impeach Trump.
But look, I do not agree with pretty much any of his policies. But he'll follow the fucking law.
I don't really care. That's not important. It's not going to happen. I mean, like Bill Maher predicted that Trump would be impeached by last Christmas. That didn't happen.
No, you got a personal beef against. You got to seem to have a personal beef against a lot of people. That
I just have a beef against one side of the aisle pushing all the news. Yeah, what I prefer is checks and balances, and that's going to lead into our discussion of when we get into when we get into Last Jedi, I'm going to talk to you about checks and balances and why it's so important to have them. But for now, I was thinking about Trump and his wall, and I said I was thinking the only way Trump gets his wall is if the Democrats give it to him. And this is why we have checks and balances, so that neither side can leverage power. Did you see President, what's his name, Hope and Change, rescind Bush's executive authority when he was elected? No, he didn't. He kept it, and he started droning people, for God's sake. What has Trump droned any? And he also got the Nobel Peace Prize. For droning people, President Hope and Change. Did Trump get that? No, he hasn't droned anybody. He should probably get. You should probably get that. We should all be up for that. But people who drone innocent women and children should not get that.
You know what? Even though you say you don't support Trump, and I'm pretty sure you don't, some of their stupid has sunk into your brain. And I'm
just in another dimension. I'm in the dimension where I try to give people equal time rather than this completely one-sided media that's happening.
I think you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder and a paranoia against.
No. Institutions. I've watched. Okay. Like my mother-in-law cried when Trump was elected. I'm like, yes. You cried. I mean, like you cried because the president is elected, somebody you didn't like, right? And I've seen families torn apart over this.
Yeah.
And I've had ex-girlfriends tell me to fuck off because I don't care that he's president.
Well,
they're acting completely unbalanced, paranoid, loony. They think everyone's out to get them. Black people have been driven mad just by the idea of Donald Trump being president, which I don't understand because he hasn't done anything to hurt them. He hasn't done anything. I don't believe that tax dollars should be paid for private, non-governmental organizations like Planned Parenthood. I think that a good portion of our country is pro-life.
Here is my opinion on
they don't like their tax dollars going for that. That's all.
I think that in a way this is a good thing because this is the wake-up call to America that says if you're not paying attention, we're going to elect a fucktard, and we did. Now, if Hillary Clinton had been elected, I think it would have been basically Benghazi all the time, the Benghazi channel, and the Republicans would have hammered away at her repeatedly.
Oh yeah. Definitely, if they are given coverage, if they're given the sufficient time on television and in print and in the internet to do that, but most of this media is controlled by the liberal left, and they're always going to. You couldn't say anything bad about Obama. Remember when he was? I didn't hear any criticism about him.
They didn't.
Janine Garofalo, the comedian,
he wasn't
the stand-up comedian. Janine Garofalo herself said that if you don't like Barack Obama, you're a racist. I mean, what kind of logic is that?
Within the Constitution, he had his lawyers. He checked
no, it wasn't.
things.
It wasn't. He did a few unconstitutional things. He spied on and shut down private companies that were no. The IRS. Remember the IRS scandal?
The law.
His administration did that.
Law. He continues to not follow the law. That's
what's Trump doing that's illegal?
Eventually.
All right, name me. All right, David. Name me one illegal thing Trump is doing.
Right now?
Just one right now.
Right now. Okay.
Right now. What is he doing?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, see, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has, and he is under investigation for obstruction.
Cue echo. Hang on. Yes. Cue echo effect here. Go ahead.
Okay. He has, and is under investigation for obstructing justice.
All right. That's just okay. That gets an echo, by the way. I'm going to throw an echo into that.
Well, good. Oh, you're recording, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. This is a pre-roll.
I'm pissed. And if anybody wants to support Trump, you're a fucking idiot. But
that should get an echo too. Okay, but what you just said is he has been accused and is being investigated. That's not the same as actually being charged with anything or committing any crime.
Well, I'm saying that that's an example of something that I think that he did that was illegal.
That you think, but there isn't any proof yet.
And that he's under investigation for.
Until there's proof, he didn't do it.
That's the case. That's why I'm like, let it play out. Let whatever will play out. I will abide because I trust the FBI. I even trust the CIA and all their shit.
I don't trust the FBI as far as I can throw them. How many leads did they get about the shooting in Parkland? How many leads did they get about what happened in Orlando? And they did nothing. I don't trust them. They kept files on people, for crying out loud. All they did is spy. And what's more, they've loaded the media with a lot of their own spoofs.
That's a local office. This is not the people investigating Trump. That's a local floor. I mean, they have local offices.
I mean, if you want to pay me $50,000 a year to waste my time investigating,
there's a lot of idiots in every
I'll take that
field.
job in a minute. This is government work. These people are terrible. They don't know how to do their job.
Well, our president's an idiot, and he's the head of the government.
And Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton and Hillary and Donna Brazile and all of that going on between them and media sources and threats and people dying and all that stuff.
Just let, for crying out loud, investigation go for what it is. And
okay, what happens? Okay, what are you going to do? I get to give you, because you asked me the question, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do when he is the Teflon Don and everything slides off of him?
What you going to do, brother? Okay, what am I going to do?
Oh, God, what was that? That sounded familiar.
Brother? Well, they're 24-inch pythons. When I... Let's say it bounces off of it, okay? He stays our president. I am like, okay, there will certainly be protests everywhere.
But you won't believe it? Or will you believe it?
Will I believe it? Yeah.
Considering how Trump is treated everywhere.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will believe
all right.
Investigation.
All right, that's
fine.
I might
not like it, but I'm like, you know what? I trust the FBI. I trust all of this, all these things, these calls for people to be fired. Fox News, I consider them
is run by Democrats. It's run by Democrats. I know it is. The way they talk. Actually, they've had interviews with people working for Fox, and they said the office is completely loaded with liberals.
Mm-hmm. Well, then why are they putting up? You know what? Then I guess they're liberals that want to make money because they're appealing to a certain demographic of course, people that need
all
to
of them,
believe
all
stuff
of them.
like
every
this.
single person in the media is not doing it to inform us. They're doing it to scare us and get paid doing it, keep us watching. That's the point of the media right there.
That's okay. But yes, I will.
This is not old school journalism.
Whatever the investigation, whatever happens, I'll be like, okay, as long as I am sort of satisfied that the whole process was overseen and done properly, I'll be like, you know what? This is what we get.
Depends. Too many people exceed their authority. They exceed their bounds. They go a little too far. Subpoenaing a lawyer is weird, or having a search warrant, because you have to actually have some kind of reasonable proof that somebody's doing something, and you usually don't send out search warrants for lawyers. I've never heard of that being done.
You do when the guy was actually already under investigation for other stuff.
Well, that's why
people get confused of like, this guy was already a shady guy that's been under investigation, and then the Mueller people said, we need some information. Well, here, we've been investigating Trump, and we have a whole bunch of information on Trump. This will probably help your case. Or they went to them, or somebody went to somebody.
Trump may not be a brain trust, and he may not be that savvy when it comes to politics. These people are sharks. They're eating him alive. But as a businessman, I would say he's savvy, so he would know where to bury the bodies, the proverbial bodies.
I want to sort of say something, because I watched a show called Homeland. It's on Showtime. So I don't know if
I've heard of it.
You don't have Showtime. And there is sort of a current storyline where, and it's really interesting, where the president is a woman, because when they made the last season, they thought for sure Hillary was going to be president. By the time it came out, she wasn't. So in this season, a woman is president, and there are weird sort of shenanigans going on where it has to do with Russians, and it's probably much more informed by what's going on now. And so there is this senator or congressman or some guy who's in power, and he has been sort of unwittingly helping the Russians with his own sort of bravado of being against this female president. So they kind of use him, and they have this like chart, and they have these sort of designators next to them, and it'd be like C for like conspirator or whatever, and like A for asset. He next to him it says UI, and he says what, and he's finding out like what he's gotten himself into, and he says, what does UI mean? And he says, useful idiot. That's what Trump is. He's useful idiot.
Okay. Well, just to finish it up, because this is going a little long. I agree with Roseanne Barr. We should support our president. We should want our president to succeed because it's our ass hanging out there on the line. And Kimmel had to actually agree with that, even though he takes a lot of time, like you, insulting Trump for whatever reason. But we should support our president. And, I think a lot of this, 99% of this, the motivation for all of this has been that people still cannot come to terms with the fact that Hillary Clinton lost the election. And they're doing everything they can to try and retcon.
It's that he won.
She didn't go to Wisconsin, okay? She didn't. She bypassed an entire state. She called half of the country a basket of deplorables, and people are still wondering why.
Well, she lost by only 70,000 votes in 3 states. So there you go. And he's still. But
that's not any confirmation that she should be president. It still comes down to electoral votes, and I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I think,
in a weird way,
the reason we have electoral votes is that California doesn't decide an election. California should never decide an election.
You know what this is?
It's a horribly run state.
This is America is on drugs. This is the OD that almost kills us. And then we like, fuck, we got to do something because we almost died. Like, this might be the final thing that cleans us up. Of course, we'll relapse in 50 years because we're idiots. But this is the wake up call. It's like, okay, now let's hope that our systems hold in place. As George Takei said in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The new screens held. We got to hope.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you this.
And this is the thing where it's like, I'm actually kind of proud of America of like, we're at least attempting to. We're testing our shields. We're testing our systems. I really hope that they hold firm, because I don't want there to be chaos in the streets, because they'll come after me because I'm the white devil, and I didn't do anything, but somehow it's my fault. And it's like, I voted.
You're just dripping with white privilege.
You didn't vote.
I didn't vote because I didn't want either of them.
Well, I voted. And so did various of our podcasting.
Oh, so it's your fault. It's your fault, everybody.
She still lost. I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's a vote that could have gone to Jill Stein.
Fuck Jill Stein.
Okay.
And fuck Bernie Sanders.
I like Jill
up
Stein,
the ass.
actually.
With no lube.
I take Jill Stein.
Because they fucked it up too.
Okay, but I don't. Just my predictions are 2018. There will be a major Democratic backlash, and many representatives and senators will be elected from that party. But in 2020, barring anything horrible that happens involving Trump or something like that, he will be reelected.
I would not be
easily
surprised. I always feel bad. It's like, I trust our institutions, but I don't trust the general population because we're generally idiots.
Of the recent years, I think George Bush Sr. was the only president not to be reelected.
Yeah.
And that was because
I don't know how
of
that
Slick
happened.
Willie.
Oh yeah, I know why it happened. Fucking Ross Perot. That's why it happened.
Well, it might have been Ross Perot, but it might have also been,
he got like
if you believe
20% of the vote, and it's like, when you think about, like, Ross Perot got the fucknut vote, and the fucknut vote leans Republican heavily. So if Bush would have gotten those votes, he probably would have won by like.
Well, he might have, but according to a documentary,
he would have won.
There was a documentary that was made called The War Room back in the mid '90s, I think, and it was about James Carville's campaign for Bill Clinton running for president in 1992. And while the Bush campaign was bringing forward all these women that Bill Clinton slept with and possibly raped or assaulted, they found some dirt on Bush's campaign where he was sending out these American flag hats, and they were made in Brazil. And according to that documentary, that's what put Clinton over the,
fuck
over
them.
the top.
It was Ross Perot. It was Ross Perot. He fucked it up. That's why it was.